Hello again. A number of people have also asked me, and this has gone on for years, that I've never really answered it conclusively. I've been asked, how did I survive with that terrible abuse I had? Well, let's break it down in a couple parts. As a child, being raped by my uncle, with my mother's knowledge, she knew everything that was going on. Very simply, I had no choice. I was the one that had the guilt about that because of all the insanity that was going on in my apartment, which was right next door to my uncle's and his mother, my grandmother. All the insanity that was going on in my apartment, with the cops being there almost every night, and just the screaming and the yelling and the fighting, the beating, the violence was crazy. So what happened? Why couldn't I tell anyone about the sexual abuse? Well, I'm going to take this first part and break it down even a little more. Early on, I was a child. You're being told that it's love. And that's when the grooming starts. So for my first several years, maybe from ages 5 to 9, I thought that was love. But it was a secret. I could never tell anybody how much he loved me. And what would have happened? What would have happened if I said my uncle is doing these things to me? What would have happened if I walked into a police station once I realized what was going on that wasn't right? What would have happened? I would have been taken from the home. I doubt it. I sincerely believe it. There would have been turmoil, and it was my father's brother that was raping me. So what would have happened? And I'm thinking I'm going to lose my parents, and they're going to separate, which they eventually did. And oh my God, I can't. It's going to break up the family. So I took on the guilt of thinking that I would break up my family as I was being raped. So I didn't have a choice in those parts. But I can't remember when it was. It might have been when I was 10 or 11. I said, no more. Nope, not going to happen. I'm not interested. And that's when my parents separated also. So I was removed from going to that rapist's house every single day after school. So that's part A. Part B is the narcissist herself, my mother. How did I survive? I'll tell you what. It really, 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 I'm going to say the word. I'm sorry. It fucked me up. That's the best word I can describe, because it did. It really, really did. And I thought, again, at the early ages, I thought this was normal. But then you start to get your own little personality, and you don't want to be abused anymore. You don't want to be embarrassed anymore. You don't want to be hit anymore. You don't want to be screamed at every 5 seconds. You want to be lied about anymore. So for me, I think it was around ages 10 to 11. And I stood up to her at those ages. And that's when it really rocketed, the narcissism. You know as well as I do what happens if you tell the narcissist no. That is a death sentence. And that's what I was doing. Now, as far as the beatings, I would stand there and take them. If it wasn't with her hands, it was with the belt. And if it wasn't with just the belt, it was with the belt's buckle. So I stood there, and often I would smile just to infuriate her that she could not crack me. At age 15, as soon as I turned 15, I went to go live in the basement of a friend for 2 years. I lived in that basement for 2 solid years. And even though he was my friend, his mother never invited me upstairs for dinner or anything else that would give me a nurturing or even remote loving experience. So at 15, I worked at the gas station around the corner. And I worked midnight shifts at 15 years old. And I did that for 1 year until I turned 16, and I went to work for Burger King. And that was a good experience. I made enough money to give my buddy some rent and to food my stomach. Other than that, I had nothing. When I turned 17, I joined the military. I got the hell out of there. And that was the first time really I had to reconnect with the narcissist mother, because the narcissist mother, because I couldn't sign myself into the military until I was 18. So I told her to do this for me, and that would be it. And then once in the military, I never looked back. The only time I did contact people was my golden child brother, because he was 7, and I was his parent for so many years. In fact, I was his parent for all of those 7 years. Parentification. I've done a video on that. Look it up if you're curious about it. But I was literally his parents, from changing diapers to bathing him, to doing his homework with him, to bringing him in his stroller when he was just a baby to Kings Plaza Mall in Brooklyn, and spending hours with him. I mean, he was an infant. He was less than 6 months old. I had him in the stroller taking him places because I loved that little child. But the narcissist mother saw that, and it became more difficult for me. 17, I went in the service. I never looked back. And when I got out of the service after 4 years, I was able to work in my chosen profession, which is technology. That's how I survived. But make no mistake, I'm still surviving. That survival hasn't stopped, right? Every once in a while, I get those tapes too, even after these 8 years of no contact. It took me a long time to break through that. So listen, if you still got those tapes playing after no contact, give yourself a break. It's going to take a bit. It will take a little while. Best thing I've ever done then was go no contact. The worst thing I ever did was reconnect. You all know that. That's my story. That's how I survived. As a child, as a rape victim, as a son of a narcissistic mother, and I worked on the street in the gas station for a little over a year before I went to Burger King and then joined the military. And I was able to mature myself. Thank you for listening. I hope this helped somebody. I'm wishing you peace today.